Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name's Scott, and in this episode, we're looking at the top players to target in Game Week 6 Sun Dream Team. Now, as always, we're going to start off with the fixture ticker from ffstuff.co.uk. You can head over to that website. It's all on there for free if you want to have a look yourself. Game Week deadline, Game Week 6 is Saturday, 11 a.m. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. And the first kickoff in that early kickoff is Newcastle at home to Manchester City, 12:30 kickoff. So there is potential for some Man City leaks. They're one of the teams that on Twitter, there does seem to be some team leaks come out for, but it does seem to be less than usual this season. Looking at the fixture ticker now, the teams that I'm going to highlight this week are Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Spurs, and Chelsea. That's because it's a European double game week. And now Chelsea are included because the Europa Conference League started a week later to the other competitions. So Chelsea will be in European action this week. There is one other team that doubles this week, but I'm not going to do a whole section on them because it's Newcastle. They have Manchester City, of course, in that first kickoff at home. And then they have Wimbledon, which was their match that should have been last week, but has been rearranged because of a dodgy pitch. So that's been moved to Newcastle's ground now instead of Wimbledon's. But Newcastle had a few issues themselves, and I don't particularly like that first City fixture either. So I'm not going to do a full segment on them, but I'll touch on it right at the end. So like I said, double game week for everyone that's in the Champions League, Europa League, and Europa Conference League now. Over the next 4 game weeks, I think it's going to be really important to target these sides because the European sides have a free fixture advantage over the non-European sides. So you can set the arrows on ffstuff.co.uk and put them above where you want to check the distances sort of thing. And between Game Week 6 and Game Week 9, the European sides will have 7 fixtures, whereas the non-European sides will have 4 typically. The non-European sides that are still in the Carabao Cup will have an extra fixture. So instead of a 7 versus 4, it'll be a 7 versus 5 in that scenario if you're Crystal Palace or Brighton or Southampton and you're still in the tournament. But overall, the general target will be to go for European double game week teams. Now, we've found this week and previous weeks actually, just because teams do have a European double game week, it feels like there's a lot more rotation than maybe in previous tournaments. Like Spurs yesterday, I was expecting them to put out probably a stronger lineup, but I mean, they put out a weakened lineup and won 3-0 with 10 men. So yeah, maybe they are in the right on doing that. But yeah, it was just a bit of a surprise. Some of the lineups we have seen so far, it generally seems like the Champions League sides will have less rotation than the other tournaments. But overall, big emphasis on targeting the European teams. So you've got Arsenal first. They're starting a really, really good fixture run. Leicester home, PSG home in Game Week 6. I had a little look at the PSG lineup, and it's nothing compared to what it used to be in previous seasons. So that may not be as bad as it looks on paper. Game Week 7, Southampton at home. Game Week 8, that Game Week 7 is just a single game week in Game Week 7. Game Week 8, then they have Bournemouth away and Shakhtar at home, which again doesn't look terrible. And then in Game Week 9, it's Liverpool home, and then we've drawn Preston North End in the Carabao Cup. So Arsenal's run does look pretty good. One thing that we will touch on, though, is that Arteta has thrown out there that there are a few injury doubts in that Arsenal team, including Raya, Ben White, Timber. So it's going to be really hard to decide if you want to go for a defender at the moment. Man City also starting a really nice fixture run. The first fixture is not the best, obviously. No one really likes going away to Newcastle. But Slovan Bratislava, who have just been hammered by Celtic in Game Week 6, also away. Fulham at home in Game Week 7 looks okay. Game Week 8, really nice double game week of Wolves away. And I think it's Sparta Prague in Game Week 8 at home, followed by Southampton home and then Tottenham away in the Carabao. So City also starting a really good run of games alongside Arsenal. And then Liverpool's not bad either. So the sort of top 3 or strongest 3 sides. Liverpool have got Wolves away and Bologna at home this week. So again, you're not going to be moving out your Liverpool players specifically for that. And you may even want to bring some in. Game Week 7, Crystal Palace away. They've not been on the best form. Game Week 8 looks tougher. Chelsea at home, RB Leipzig in game week 8 in the Champions League. And then game week 9, a bit tougher as well. Arsenal away and Brighton away in the Cup. But yeah, I mean, you back Liverpool to give anyone a game, don't you, really? United, challenging game week 6 and a really disappointing game week 5, especially with having 2 of the most transferred in players that week. Not myself, just in the game. In game week 7, they've got Villa away as well, so not the best. Spurs, I'd say it's quite mixed. Last result was obviously positive, and the result in the Premier League was also really, really good. So on a bit of a high, and then facing Manchester United away and Ferencváros, I think it's pronounced. But again, like, we're going to probably expect quite a bit of rotation there. Villa, the run looks really nice outside of the Bayern Munich game. So Aston Villa have got Ipswich away that in a single game week fixture looks brilliant. Bayern at home, that's going to be a tough one. Arsenal had it last season, and both weren't great. Man United at home in game week 7. I don't think Villa will be fearing that at the moment. Fulham away in game week 8 with Bologna as well at home. And then Bournemouth and Crystal Palace both at home. So quite a lot of home games for Aston Villa. And their home form was pretty good last season. And their current form is good. Then Chelsea, the run does look okay. They are hitting some form, but we've seen some big rotation. It's Brighton and Ghent in game week 6. But again, we're probably going to expect that Chelsea are going to rotate heavily for that one. Game week 7, it's Nottingham Forest at home, which looks nice. But then Liverpool away, Panathinaikos away as well in that double game week. Newcastle, and then they'll face the winner of Wimbledon Newcastle. So potentially could be a double game week against Newcastle in game week 9 for Chelsea. Outside of the European sides, I'll cover these at the end of the episode. Newcastle, like I said, have got a double, but it includes City. Palace, they've got a nice single in away at Everton, but I mean, you're probably only looking at, do I keep Henderson or do I keep an Eze? I don't think you'd be particularly bringing players in for this. Brentford come into a nice fixture run. They've got West Ham home, Wolves home, Man United away, Ipswich, and then they've got a Carabao Cup tie. But again, we want to target doublers if we can. And then Forest, I'll cover them. Sells, not the worst fixture run if you're planning to hold them. They're actually, the data behind their defence is not actually that bad. Fulham at home, Chelsea away, Crystal Palace at home, and then Leicester away. I'm looking at this thinking it's probably not the end of the world if you did want to hold on to Sells. But like I said, ideally, we're going to look at European players in this episode. Following on from last week, I'm going to present some of the 11afire.com data for predicted goals and predicted clean sheets in the Premier League fixtures. So for match day 6 or game week 6 in the Premier League fixture, Arsenal are leading the way for projected goals scored. So 2.8, so not far off 3 goals. They're projecting that Arsenal will score against Leicester. And in game week 7 as well, 2.91, so close to 3 as well, predicted for that Southampton fixture. So could be 1-2. Well, obviously, most people are going to have Saka, but maybe the likes of Kai Havertz could be good for attacking. Liverpool, second with 2.18, and Man City, 2.12. So again, not really any surprises. Arsenal, Liverpool, City, the top 3 attacking sides for goals. Bournemouth up there in 4th, above 2. And Chelsea also above 2.07 for the most goals predicted in game week 6. Clean sheet wise, Arsenal lead the way again in both this fixture and next week's Premier League fixture. So 57% chance of keeping a clean sheet projected by 11afire using some market data. Bournemouth surprisingly in second for projected clean sheets this week. That's because they face Southampton, who are struggling. Liverpool 36%, Everton 31%, Forest in 5th with 31 as well. Man City in 6th for 30%, so away at Newcastle. Typically quite a hard fixture, but still not terrible if you do have City defenders. If you do want to check out this in more detail, head over to 11afire.com and you can look at goals, clean sheets, win percentages. They've also got things like projected players to score, assist, goal involvements, that sort of thing. So check out 11afire.com. I'll put a link in the description below. So on to my team first, Arsenal. Dirty cheats, master of the dark arts. Looking good though this week. Leicester at home. PSG at home in game week 6. We've got the highest predicted goals and clean sheet chances, like I showed on 11afire. 4 clean sheets out of 6 so far. But Raya, Timber, Ben White, all supposedly doubts. We won't know really. That's what Arteta has said. I don't think he's going to clear it up. We have got press conferences still to come today, so maybe he will clear it up. But knowing Arteta, he'll just keep it under wraps going into this fixture. So I doubt we'll hear anything before deadline. Trossard will be back. He served his suspension for kicking the ball away. Awful. He served that suspension against Bolton Wanderers. Saka, only 37% owned in the game, which surprises me. Fifth highest on the game for points. 1 goal, 6 assists so far this season. I'm expecting a great run of points over this. We haven't seen any penalties yet for Arsenal. He's the penalty taker, so that helps. He's got a lot of assists from corners, linking up with Gabriel quite nicely. And you just think, looking at these fixtures, he has to get more attacking returns. I do think his free bonus is less than what we usually expect from Saka. But with the fixtures getting a bit nicer, we have had a lot of tough games like Aston Villa and City, for example, Spurs, been down to 10 men in 2 matches. So maybe just hasn't had the chance to do as many of those attacking actions as he would have done against some of these lesser opponents. So hopefully he'll get back on scoring bonus, but it's been a great season for him so far already. Could be a captaincy pick, but I still think it's just too brave to go against Haaland and Salah on their current form. Defensively, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori all lined up against Man City. So the surprise was Ben White was on the bench. That was sort of clarified as an injury/fitness concern, which led to Timber going right back, Calafiori going left back. But then Timber and White were left out of the squad for the Cup, and so was David Raya, meaning we had to play a 16-year-old keeper. And so Timber, White, and Raya are the 2 potential injury doubts that we're not sure about. Saliba and Gabriel would then become the safest options in defence. Gabriel probably looking like the more threatening from corners. But then with the info we have, Calafiori would be on the cards. He's played this Bolton game. He's played the Man City game. But I just still have my doubts whether or not he would be a starter if Timber is available and if Ben White is available. So he may very well start Leicester, but I just don't think his first choice yet if everyone else is fit. If we knew that everyone was fit, I think Timber would be the guy that I'd be going for at the moment. I just think that his price point at 4 million seems a lot more tempting than going to a Saliba or a Gabriel. When you get to Saliba, Gabriel sort of levels or prices, I start to wonder, would I prefer Trent? And I think I would. Just for, I think it's 0.3 more than Gabriel. So, yeah, I do think Saliba and Gabriel will be brilliant for this run. And if you've got Trent already and can get one, then by all means. But I still feel like I prefer Trent. Second attacker other than Saka would be Havertz for me. Plays every game. Plays close to 90 minutes every game. 3 goals, 1 assist so far this season. 6.1 average, which is decent for the price. Just have my concerns a little bit about what might happen due to the Ødegaard injury. We have seen that he, against Atalanta, dropped into the position where Ødegaard typically would be, rotating with Gabriel Jesus, who I don't think played very well in that game. It could be Jesus, it could be Trossard rotating, doing that similar thing. Maybe where it's a lesser opponent, it'll be more almost like a 2 up top. But I would much rather see him there as the proper number 9. Outside of Havertz, though, I'm not massively keen. Martinelli would probably be the next best option at 3.6, but then I look at 3.6 million and think, would I prefer Tielemans at 3.7? I think that's much more reliable points than banking on Martinelli, who has 1 assist so far. But in front of goal, he has looked pretty out of form. Started 4 out of 5 Premier League matches, though, and 1 Champions League match. So if you are backing him to find his form with these good fixtures, then he could be an option. Jesus, I think, has looked off it. I wouldn't pick him. Trossard's back. And then Sterling, he did haul in this one 18 points against Bolton, but it's Bolton. I still don't think that's going to just get him straight into a starting spot. So I don't think any of those options are particularly safe. Declan Rice got a goal and an assist against Bolton, taking corners or half of the corners as well. Just wouldn't be too blinded by the Bolton game. They're okay options. That's fine, but I do think there are options at other clubs that could be better. Man City, hardest fixture in the run is Newcastle away. Newcastle, though, have only kept one clean sheet at home this season, which was Southampton. And then that second fixture away at Slovan Bratislava, they've just lost 5-1 against Celtic in their last Champions League game. So I am expecting plenty of goals for City. Haaland probably doesn't need justifying at this point anymore. 10 goals scored this season. Just scored past Arsenal, which I wasn't backing him to do. I went captaincy Salah, which worked out okay. I'll be honest, I was pretty terrified once Haaland had scored that early goal. So I think Haaland is absolutely fine to captain in this run, game week 6. I think I will be leaning towards him for captaincy, despite that hard Newcastle fixture. Savinho at 3.6 million. So he really impressed me in that Arsenal game. He absolutely spun Calafiori, left him for dead. He hit maximum bonus points in this game and obviously got that assist to Haaland. 5.5 average points is pretty good for the price point. There is always a chance he doesn't start twice, but he does seem to have made that right wing spot his own. Started the Premier League and the Champions League last time out, but was subbed early in that one. But they were having a pretty poor game against Inter in the first half. He's taken 11 corners for Man City this season, so taking them off the right. And he has 3 assists already. And if you watched the Watford game, I went back and watched the highlights, or the extended highlights. He hit the post, he had one cleared off the line, and he was very close to getting an assist as well. So he looked like he had a really good game in that Watford match just off the bench. So yeah, really impressed with him. Someone that I was less impressed with this week was Phil Foden. I thought that he might start the Arsenal game. It looks like he's likely dropping to 5.8 now after not delivering in his sub appearance against Arsenal, and then getting a full 90 against Watford as like a false 9, but still didn't really do it, just the 3 points. Not seen enough yet to make a move on Foden. Could very well do well against Newcastle and Slovan Bratislava, but the thought of maybe getting him at 5.8 is quite appealing. Rico Lewis, due a rise after a midweek assist against Watford. Looked like he played really well in this one, got bonus points, 9 points in total. Didn't play Arsenal, which I didn't really expect he would. I felt like that Walker-Martinelli matchup seemed like the logical thing to do. But I do think that he's probably likely to get quite a few more minutes now that Rodri is out for the season, it seems like. So 3.6 million entry into the City defence and possibly getting a little boost on minutes. I think Rico Lewis does look good. Someone that's in my team. Vardiol, many will be debating transferring him out, I think, just because he's probably due a drop after the Arsenal game being like a 5-pointer, but then coming on as a sub just to get a 1-pointer in Watford brings his average down, which is a bit annoying. But I think with this run, is quite competitive with Arsenal's run for defence. And I think Gvardiol is probably the best option still at City. He hasn't been doing the attacking that he was doing last season. But I did notice that when Walker was playing, it gave Vardiol the option to push forward a lot more against Arsenal, like we saw last season. So if Walker's starting, I think Gvardiol could be getting into those good positions. So I think I'm probably going to be keeping him this week. Doku started both games this week. He did get a goal against Watford. I think he plays off either side, and there is a chance that Grealish and Savinho will rotate with him. So I think he's a good option, but just be aware, probably not a true doubler. Liverpool, so they have got decent fixtures this week as well. So Wolves away and Bologna at home in game week 6. Wolves have got the second worst defence for goals conceded, and Bologna have only kept one clean sheet this season. I had a look, that came in the Champions League. They're currently 13th in Serie A, so not having a great season themselves. Liverpool, second best for XG, second best for big chances, and most clean sheets so far. So Liverpool looking strong in attack and defence at the moment. Salah, 18 points this game week, an assist against Bournemouth, a goal off the bench against West Ham. Second most shots on target behind Haaland. So again, having a really, really good season, Salah under Slot. Didn't expect him actually to feature in this game against West Ham, but came off the bench, got an 8-pointer. That's everything you could have hoped for, really, if you'd captained him. And I think there is a shout for captaining him again in game week 6, with these two fixtures. It is a shootout really between Haaland and Salah, in my opinion. Saka could come into the mix, but just seeing the form that Haaland's been in this season, 10 goals for Haaland versus 4 for Salah. Trent, second assist of the season, 14-point haul against Bournemouth. It could have been a lot different, I think. Almost scored an own goal, was bailed out by Kelleher, but got his second assist, 14 points, got the clean sheet. So it is looking good still for Trent. Only 2 bonus points surprised me. 52 points in total and an 8.5 average. I had a little look into the bonus points, and he's been on 4 ppm a lot of times, and he's been on 7 ppm in that most recent game. So it seems like really quite regularly he is just under the threshold for the next lot of points. Now, maybe that is going to be a consistent thing, or maybe it's just unlucky and he might start hitting bonus more regularly. He did it last season, and I think he'll probably start hitting bonus again soon. I'm favouring Trent over Gabriel more based on extra points. So, of course, Gabriel's just scored 2 goals in 2, I think it was, Spurs and City. So he's doing pretty well. But he's only really scored, I think it was 3 goals, and 5 goals the season before it, Gabriel. So can't imagine he's going to beat that by miles as a centre-back. Whereas we've seen Trent hit double figures for attacking returns many seasons. So I think he's got the edge over him, Trent, for attacking returns, even though in recent last couple of games it's been Gabriel. Goals and assists are worth a point more this season as well. Trent had an average that was 1 point more than Gabriel's last season. I imagine that would get bigger with the new scoring. Trent's hit 16 tackles, so over 2 per game, which gets him an extra point a game. He's had 5 big chances in 6 games, which is very close to sort of getting an extra point per game. I think when he starts getting shots on target, he's probably going to be getting a tackle point, a big chance created, or shot point. And then the clean sheets have been fairly competitive with Arsenal, but you'd have to probably say that Arsenal look a little bit more likely to get clean sheets in this run. So I think it is going to be really close, but personally, I just want to opt for the more attacking, the one that's taking set pieces and has more of a threat for attack and return. So I think Trent is better, but I'm not saying that Gabriel is not a good option. Diaz, 5 goals, 1 assist for the season. So someone I took out this week, and then he scored a brace against Bournemouth, 19 points, 9.7 average for the season. Probably should have been a bit more patient with him. But the reason that I wasn't was because I got a bit fed up of this like 60 minutes or 70 minutes in one game and then a sub appearance in the other. And he has done it again this match, despite the haul. So he got, I think it was 60 odd in the Bournemouth game, and then benched for the West Ham game, didn't come on. So again, maybe not a true 2-game-a-week player. And we've had hauls from both Jota, 15 points, and Gakpo, 20 points. An assist from Nunes. So they do have depth. Even Chiesa got an assist in the West Ham match. So I think he's going to be brilliant. I think he's going to start Wolves. But I just can't tell you with any confidence that I think he's definitely going to start 2 games a week anymore. Gakpo, like I said, 20 minutes off the bench in the Premier League match, but a 20-point haul in the FA Cup match against the Carabao match against West Ham. So a great game for him, following up on his really good Champions League performance as well. So he's definitely banging on the door. Less exciting picks from Liverpool. Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. I think they're a lot more likely to get the 2 starts a week, but probably the ceiling is obviously a lot less. But Gravenberch is interesting. 10 bonus points so far this season and only costing 3.3 million. Jota, I can't remember if I mentioned him, but didn't start in the Prem. Unused sub, but scored a brace against West Ham. I do think he probably starts the next Premier League game after being subbed in the 59th. I reckon he probably is going to start. Nunes got the full 90 in this one, so I'd guess Nunes is on the bench for Wolves. Jota starts against his old club. Aston Villa, so they're on a really, really good run of form. 5 wins on the bounce since losing to Arsenal. I think they've got some of the best fixtures currently. It's just that Bayern match is the real standout that maybe ruins it slightly. But at least it's at home. So Ipswich away, Bayern at home. Man United at home in Game Week 7. I think that looks fine. Fulham away, Bologna in at Game Week 8. And in Game Week 9, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, home double game week. And maybe where it's Crystal Palace in the Cup, there probably is going to be a lot less rotation than what there was in this Wycombe Wanderers Cup match. Tielemans 3.7 is the one that I've been banging on about for quite a few weeks now. He's just really, really impressive. Running things in that last game, 11 points. Digne came off early, so Tielemans was taking more corners, but he does seem like he is one of the set piece takers. He grabbed an assist, got 3 bonus points, tackle points, 2 big chances created. He just seems to be doing the lot. Someone that I'm very interested in bringing in my team. 1 goal, 3 assists. I couldn't tell you that the attack and returns are going to continue very regularly, but 8.2 average is really, really impressive. 5th highest mid currently, 9th overall player. For context, that 8.2 average, Saka's 8.1 at over 6 mil, and Trent is 8.5. So not far off these 2 players that are sort of 6 million bracket, where Tielemans is 3.7. So really, really impressive season for Tielemans. I think he's in the list as one of the most transferred in this week. Watkins was rested for the Carabao Cup match. Duran obviously got his run out and scored 10 points for him. 3 goals, 2 assists though for Watkins so far, 7.7 average. Attacking returns in 4 matches running. So looks like he's in a good run of form. 5 out of their next 7 are at home as well. And I had a look back to last season and they scored the 3rd most goals at home last season. Just 3 goals off of Man City, who were in 1st. So home form for Villa has been really, really good. Rodgers, 2.8 million. So finally, the attacking returns have been coming. So he got 2 assists in this match. So one of the players that I have been a bit patient with, probably because he's a cheaper price point, he's finally come good. And I think a 4.8 average is pretty decent for the price. He seems to be getting 90 minutes twice a week as well. In his 6 matches, he's had 10 shots on target and big chances created combined. So seems to be getting always like a little extra point on top of the appearance points if he isn't getting attacking returns. Onana, still a great pick for the price, but starting to notice that he does get subbed fairly regularly around like 60-ish minutes with Barkley coming on. So slightly less minutes than Rodgers. I still think Rodgers is probably the better pick, but I like both. Tackles and bonus points still coming for Onana. Defensively, don't feel as hot on Villa for this week in particular, but I do think over the next few weeks there are some clean sheets there with all the home games. Digne still leading the way, probably as the standout pick, 3.7 million. And then probably Konsa at 3.9. He's dropped in price a little bit. Got a goal and 11 points in the Prem game this week and 3 bonus points. And I was playing at right back. We saw him get quite a lot of bonus points last season. And he did play chunks at right back. So maybe that is something that we can keep an eye on. 5 bonus points from 6 games so far is pretty good. And then Martinez, if you are looking to upgrade your keeper to a European playing goalkeeper, I imagine he's probably going to have plenty of saves to make against Bayern. And then there is the chance of the clean sheet against Ipswich. Spurs managed a clean sheet against Karabakh somehow with 10 men for basically the entire game after Dragusin was sent off early. Vicario and Van der Ven were the 2 sort of starting Premier League players that kept the clean sheet, but Udogie did sub on in that match and get the clean sheets because he was on for long enough. Porro, Maddison, both unused subs. 2 players that I've got in my team, and I did think that they didn't start, they would still get some sort of minutes in this game, but it wasn't to be. Really quite disappointed about Porro because I did think that he would start this. Kulu was on at half time for Brennan Johnson, which was an annoying one because Brennan Johnson and Kulusevski felt like a bit of a 50-50. I was mentioning on the previous episode. I liked both of them for this week, and Brennan Johnson has scored in both fixtures. So Johnson owners will be very pleased with that. 8 points in this game. Kulusevski coming on at half-time. Felt like it was probably a planned sub, I think, for Johnson, seeing as Johnson has started like the last three. Kulusevski got an assist in this game, but it was a rather fortunate one. He put a cross in, the keeper flapped at it, got a touch, came down, and was put in by Solanke, I think it was, or no, Papsar scored that one. So I think rather fortunate to get an assist there. Solanke looked brilliant though, goal and an assist in this one, 14 points. Following up on his goal in the previous Prem fixture as well. So 25 points this week and a 0.3 rise. Nice enough fixtures going forward as well, I think. And this is the thing. I know obviously Havertz, the fixtures do look really nice. But for $1 million less, you can get Solanke. I really don't think there will be too much in it. Tough decision, but I just think that price point looks really quite nice for Dom. Son, 5 million, 3 assists this game week. My 12th man for the week. 18 points. I'll take it for a 12th man, but it was the goals that I would have really wanted. He's on 2 goals, 3 assists for the season. But I just think if you're going to bring in a Spurs attacker, the difference between Solanke and Son's price, I think I'd be opting for Solanke. Of course, when I went for 12th man, I was opting for the pen taker, and the budget doesn't come into it. But if actually it would come down to spending the money, I feel like Solanke definitely is more value for money. Johnson scored in 3 consecutive matches now. He comes in at a nice price point as well. It's 3.2, no, 3.3. Due a rise as well now, I imagine. 3 goals, 1 assist, and he started Europe, Premier League, and Carabao Cup now. Maddison, what a game in that last Premier League match. So 19 points, maximum bonus, a goal and an assist. 1 goal, 3 assists for the season. He was just at the centre of everything, really on it that game. No European minutes though. I thought that maybe he'd start and sub off, or at the very least, maybe he'd sub on for Bergvall. But Bergvall had to come off really, really early because of that red card. So maybe he could have got minutes. I don't know. But yeah, overall, pretty disappointed that he didn't get that second one. But 19 points, you can't complain. He's going to get a rise. And I'm happy to keep hold of him for the moment. Porro, like I said, very disappointed. I feel like he's the sort of player that where he gets these extra points for bonus, attack and returns, tackles, to have him in a double game week would be fantastic. But they don't often keep clean sheets. I know they did yesterday, but they don't often keep clean sheets. So I'm starting to wonder whether it is worth keeping hold of him if it is going to be single game weeks. Maybe it's just a rotation thing, and maybe he gets the next game, or maybe he gets a harder European game. Maybe someone like AZ Alkmaar in game week 8. But yeah, overall, not feeling very good about the Porro in move. And then Chelsea. So, like I said, Brighton and Ghent in game week 6. Second highest goals per game behind City. But 6 goals were put in against Wolves. So that's a big chunk of that. West Ham were really poor in that 3-0 loss. But can't take away from Chelsea. They do look good going forward. 3 wins on the bounce. 3 clean sheets on the bounce as well. But I would just like to see their game week 6 European lineup before including anyone in my team. I feel like we might start to see sort of 2 completely different lineups now, like we did against Barrow compared to the Premier League. You had Nicholas Jackson got 21 points against West Ham, 2 goals, 1 assist, 4 goals, 2 assists for the season. So he's having a good season. Third highest scoring striker behind Haaland and Salah. Do you want him if he's not going to get included for Europe? He wasn't in the squad for Barrow. He will be in the squad for European football, but with Nkunku scoring a hat-trick against Barrow, I imagine Nkunku's going to be the starting striker in Europe, and then Jackson probably is going to be the starting striker in the Prem, so not that keen on that. Palmer, 9 points, still a good return in a single. I did think he was pretty quiet in the West Ham match, and then after getting subbed off after around 60 minutes, we did start to think maybe he'd get the Barrow match as well, but was left out of that squad like I thought he would be. Maresca, definitely being careful with his fitness and minutes, it seems like. Does get a bit of a kick in, that player. So not going to be in the European squad. I think you're going to want to spend that money on someone that you think you'll get 2 games from. But Palmer is showing that he can do it in 1 game. And then Nkunku's hat-trick against Barrow. Obviously, 24 points is fantastic, but I'd want to still see Premier League starts before I decided to include Nkunku in my team. Man United, probably the disappointment of the week. So scammed everyone with their 2 exciting wins last week. Tough fixtures this week. Spurs at home and Porto away. Although I did see that Porto lost 3-2 to Bodo Glimt, which surprised me. Onana, Dalot, Mazraoui, Martinez, Ericsson, Bruno, Dalot and Xerxes were all doublers this week. So if you're looking for players that play twice, they could be the ones to look towards. Bruno Fernandes, 8 points for the week. I guess that's pretty disappointing still after his good week the week before. I thought he was unlucky against Palace. He hit the crossbar. I felt like he looked like he was trying to make things happen. But he wasn't very good in the Twente match from what I saw. 7 corners were taken by Ericsson, 1 by Ahmad, and just 1 by Bruno. So he seems like he's lost a fair chunk of the set piece threat. He did have 7 PPM, which was only 1 off of hitting 3 bonus points. Maybe would have felt a little bit differently. And then he was 1 off of bonus on the Palace game as well. So quite close to hitting bonus. But yeah, overall, if you had him, it's a disappointing week. Doesn't mean that he's going to be bad for game week 6, though. Spurs and Porto. And you do know that he is going to start both of them. So maybe take a leaf out of my book with Diaz and have a bit of patience with Bruno Fernandes, potentially, if you did bring him in this week. Ericsson, 13 points. I don't know what's happened with Ericsson recently. What a run of form. So a goal against Twente. But he did actually give the ball away for Twente's goal, but doesn't matter for Dream Team points. When he keeps starting 2 games a week, though, I'm not certain of it. But while he's in form, maybe Ten Hag carries on starting him. Garnacho and Rashford. So these 2 were the most transferred in this week, but just did not deliver. Garnacho, I thought, was unlucky. 2 shots on target, hit the crossbar against Palace. Started on the bench in Europe. And then Rashford was surprisingly benched for Palace. And only 3 points against Twente. But I did watch the highlights, the extended highlights again. I watched Arsenal against Bolton, so I didn't watch this one. But I looked at the highlights and even watched a Rashford comp video on Twitter, and he looked very dangerous in this match. So maybe he was unlucky not to score more. Maybe he will get a start next week. But yeah, overall, if you did bring him in, you'd be disappointed and probably a little bit tempted to move him on, especially when you could get to like a Solanke for a similar price. Surprised Manu didn't get a European start as well. I thought he would be the sort of player that would be playing twice a week, but he does seem like he's getting his minutes managed a little bit. Here's how I got on for game week 5. So 140 points for the game week, 635 points in total, moving me up to 365th overall. But I did play my 12th man booster this week on Son, who got me 18 points. So overall, rank probably not a true reflection now, having got that extra 18 points from Son. But I will take it. Decent start to the season. The ranks are so congested, by the way. So don't worry if you're feeling like your rank isn't that good at the minute. I had a look and I'm on 635 having played that booster. 1k is 622. So really isn't much in it. I would have been on 617 without the booster. Starting goal was Sells, just a 1 point, disappointing, but for a cheap keeper, it happens. Lewis got an assist, 7 points in that Carabao Cup match. Vardiol got a couple of shots on target against Arsenal, 5 points, not bad. And then Porro, 5 points for bonus and some tackles in the Premier League game, but again, disappointed that he didn't play in Europe. Eze, 3 bonus points, tackles, shot on target, 7 points. Again, he's just been fantastic for single game weeks. Saka with 12 points, got an assist against City, but got subbed off at half time. And then the surprise start against Bolton was probably because he was subbed off at half time. So he's come away with 2 assists this week and 12 points. Maddison, 19-point haul, goal and an assist, maximum bonus points. If you remember, he was really close to hitting max bonus the week before as well. So seems pretty reliable for bonus points, but didn't play Europe. Rogers, 9 points, 2 assists. Kulusevski, 8 points, got an assist in that European match off the bench. And then Haaland, goal against Arsenal. Missed the Carabao Cup match, but didn't expect him to play that. And then Salah, an assist and a goal in the Cup. So 5 shots on target this week for Salah as well. He was my captain, getting me 36 points. So yes, 140-point week. Not bad at all, but 12th man booster obviously played. Here's what I'm thinking currently. So this is my team as it stands. No transfers made. I've got 1.4 million in the bank, so I gave myself a little bit of leeway just in case I wanted to do Eze to Foden if he played well, and then I could have done Rico Lewis to Jurriën Timber. Now Foden didn't impress, and now Timber has been spoke about as an injury doubt, but I was also priced out of this move by 0.1 because I expected Eze to go up 0.3, but he only went up 0.2. So that would have priced me out by 0.1 of doing Foden and Timber. But I'm not sure I'd want to do it now with the talk of injuries. So looking at it, my initial thoughts this week would be to get more Arsenal in. The problem I'm having is who. Gabriel would be the best option in defence. But like I said, I think 5.6 just feels too expensive for me. No price change expected for him as well. Because although he scored, he came on in the Bolton match. So it's brought his average right down, and now he's only expected to stay the same. Maybe he'll go up 0.1. But Trent, I could get a 0.3 rise out of him. And like for the reasons I mentioned, I feel like he's got a higher ceiling than Gabriel. And then when they're not keeping clean sheets, I think that Trent probably outscores him. So I'm preferring Trent over Gabriel potentially. But doesn't mean to say that Gabriel was a bad pick. Timber would have been the guy that I would have looked to second because he's a nice balance of price and then minutes to start. He seems to have started all the Premier League matches apart from that first one. And he played in Europe as well at only 4 million. So Timber would have been the guy. I need Arteta to say that he's fine, and I don't think he's going to say it. Calafiori, I just can't be sure that he's a long-term starter, and I'm not convinced that all the Arsenal defenders could be okay. And then I don't think Calafiori starts. And then if it's Ben White, injury doubt, Saliba, I'd rather Gabriel. So a little bit stuck in limbo. I feel like Timber would be the guy that I wanted if I knew that they were all fit. So this is what I'm thinking. So I'm looking to, instead of moving Eze to Foden, I'm going to do Eze to Trent around the same price. I just think that Trent's fixtures are still good. I think he plays twice a week. We saw it in the Champions League previous. Maybe the odd occasion it will not work out that way. But yeah, I think in general he's going to get 2 games a week. And then he's got those attacking threats as well. I think he's been unlucky with bonus points, 4 ppm a lot of times, 7 ppm the last match. I didn't think that he was worth the money to start off with, but I feel like now I've built up a little bit of budget, I can afford to push the boat out on him. Then looking at my other move, so I think it's safe to say that Lewis, Porro, Maddison, and Kulu are all not really nailed doublers despite having European football. You look at my squad there, having just made 1 transfer, and then I've got 10 potential European players, but we've seen this week that it's not the case that they're going to play in all of them. I think Kulusevski feels like he'll at least feature, despite not being overly happy with how he did this week. I think if he doesn't start, there's still a chance he comes off the bench. I think that Rico Lewis, again, like we've seen, he probably starts one and he's benched for one. But I do think that his minutes are going to be improved under Rodri, and he can play twice a week. And then when he does play, City are such a good defence that there is a good chance of a clean sheet. And we see him get forward. They score a lot of goals, and he does get involved in the goals as well. So I'm pretty happy with Lewis, especially for the price. And then Maddison, he's going to get the price rise. He's got a really high ceiling, like we saw with that 19-pointer. So I don't want to move him out. Which takes me back to Porro, who I've only just bought in this week. I've had a bad habit of bringing players in and then taking them out. It's not ideal at all. But they don't have very good clean sheet chances, Spurs. And if he is only playing once a week, that's not great either. He does get those additional points, but again, if he is only playing once a week, I don't know how valuable they are going to be. So I'm currently leaning towards Porro as the guy to take out reluctantly. We know how this goes. He probably then goes on to play 2 matches and hauls in them. But yeah, it's a hard decision to make. And I want to bring in Tielemans. I've been speaking about him for a while. I feel like he is as nailed as you get for 2 games a week. Now, obviously, rotation can happen if he's struggling. But he's been impressive this season. And Villa seem to be rotating less than some of the other teams, especially with like a team like Bayern up next. You're not going to rotate your best team for Bayern. The level in the Champions League is a lot higher. So I imagine that Emery's not going to mess around with the lineup too much. And so I'm tempted to do Porro to Tielemans, or effectively we'll be doing Porro to Trent and Eze to Tielemans. I think that will get me extra fixtures. I feel a little bit more confident on the extra fixtures that way. 2 players in that have set pieces, 2 players in that have got attacking returns in them. Bonus potential as well. Tielemans has been showing it. Trent has been a bit off it, but we do know that he's done it previously. I do think that Tielemans has probably been overperforming with these attacking returns, but when you take him away, he's still getting bonus. He's still having shots or creating chances. He's taking set pieces. And I think he's probably going to hit about 5 to 7 points per game, even if he doesn't get attacking returns. So I'm happy to get him in. It would give me 1.2 in the bank. So then I have still got money if I want to upgrade Sells to Martinez, or just want to maybe upgrade one of my people that doesn't seem like a true doubler. If Kulusevski only gets a single again, I've got a little bit of money to maybe improve him. I could get from Kulusevski to Timber next week with that money in the bank if we do find out that Timber's okay. So I do think it is a little bit handy sometimes to have a little bit of money in the bank, keep yourself flexible. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling this week. It might still change, but currently looking at Trent and Tielemans to come in for Porro and Eze. If you've enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel to get kept up to date with all the latest Dream Team content. And if you haven't seen it already, head over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. We had previous Dream Team winner Fergie from Fantasy Football Hub on to discuss his season so far and the upcoming game week. So check that out. There'll be a link in the description below, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.